The ocean is a vast, dark, and silent world that covers more than 70% of our planet. It is a place where secrets are buried under miles of water, where the pressure is immense, and where the light of the sun never reaches. But on March 8, 2014, the ocean swallowed something that should have been impossible to lose. A Boeing 777-200ER, one of the most advanced and safest aircraft ever built, carrying 239 people.
It was a routine flight, a red-eye from Kuala Lumpur to Beijing. But in the blink of an eye, it became the greatest aviation mystery in human history. How does a massive jet simply vanish into thin air, leaving no wreckage, no distress signal, and no survivors? This is the investigation into Malaysia Airlines Flight MH370.
The night began like any other at Kuala Lumpur International Airport. Passengers from 14 different nations boarded the aircraft, each with their own dreams, their own families, and their own destinations. There were young couples on their honeymoons, businessmen heading for important meetings, and families returning home.
Captain Zahari Ahmad Shah, a highly experienced pilot with over 18,000 flight hours, and First Officer Fariq Abdul Hamid, a young man on his final training flight, were at the controls. Everything seemed perfectly normal. The plane took off at 12:41 a.m. local time, climbing smoothly through the humid Malaysian night.
"Good night, Malaysian 370. The captain's calm voice crackled over the radio as the plane passed from Malaysian to Vietnamese airspace. Those were the last words anyone would ever hear from the cockpit.
But what happened next defies logic. Just as the plane was supposed to check in with Ho Chi Minh City Air Traffic Control, it vanished from secondary radar. Its transponder, the device that communicates the plane's location and altitude to ground controllers, was abruptly switched off. To the air traffic controllers on the ground, it was as if the plane had simply ceased to exist.
In reality, MH370 had not crashed. It was still flying, but it was no longer the plane it was supposed to be. It had become a ghost, a silent shadow moving through the night, and the first of many cliffhangers began. Why did the plane make a sharp, calculated turn back towards the Malay Peninsula?
This wasn't a random maneuver. Military radar later revealed that the aircraft had performed a series of precise turns that suggest someone was still in control. It flew back across Malaysia, passed near the island of Penang, and then turned northwest towards the Andaman Sea.
It was flying along the border of different air traffic control zones, a tactic often used by pilots to avoid detection. But who was flying it, and where were they going? The transponder was off, the communication systems were dead, and yet the plane was still in the air. Was it a hijacking? A pilot suicide? Or something even more sinister that we haven't even begun to understand?
As the sun rose over the South China Sea, a massive search operation was launched. Ships and planes from multiple nations scoured the water where the plane was last seen. They found nothing. No oil slick, no debris, no bodies. It was as if the ocean had opened up and swallowed the plane whole.
But the investigators were looking in the wrong place. While the world was focused on the South China Sea, the plane had continued to fly for 7 more hours. We know this because of a tiny, forgotten piece of technology, a satellite data unit that continued to handshake with an Inmarsat satellite orbiting over the Indian Ocean. This mystery code, hidden in the satellite pings, would eventually rewrite the entire search. These pings didn't contain any location data, but they did contain something called burst timing offset and burst frequency offset. By analyzing these minute measurements, scientists were able to calculate the distance of the aircraft from the satellite at each handshake. They discovered that the plane had turned south and flown into the vast, empty reaches of the southern Indian Ocean. It was a region of the world so remote that it is often called the Pole of Inaccessibility. There are no airports there, no shipping lanes, and no witnesses. The plane was flying into a void. But why?
Could it have been a catastrophic fire that knocked out the electronics and left the crew unconscious? If so, why did the plane make those precise turns before heading south? If it was a hijacking, why did the hijackers fly into the most remote part of the ocean instead of making demands? The pattern interrupts of this case are endless,
Every time we think we have an answer, a new piece of evidence appears that contradicts it. For example, the flight simulator found in Captain Zahari's home. It contained a deleted flight path that bore a striking resemblance to the one MH370 took into the Indian Ocean. Was this proof of a premeditated mass murder-suicide, or was it just a coincidence?
The zombie plane theory suggests that a sudden depressurization of the cabin left everyone on board unconscious due to hypoxia. In this scenario, the plane would have continued to fly on autopilot until it ran out of fuel. This would explain why the plane didn't crash immediately and why there were no distress calls.
But it doesn't explain the initial turns and the deliberate switching off of the transponder. The more you look into the details, the more you realize that this was not a simple accident. Someone, either the pilot or a hijacker, was making conscious decisions, at least in the first hour of the flight.
By 2015, the first piece of the puzzle finally washed ashore. A flaperon from MH370 was found on the island of Reunion, thousands of miles from the search zone. Over the next few years, more pieces of debris were found along the coasts of Africa and Madagascar. These fragments confirmed that the plane had indeed crashed into the Indian Ocean, but they didn't reveal where the main wreckage was. The ocean currents are a complex system of their own, and tracing a piece of debris back to its origin is an almost impossible task. The debris showed signs of being torn apart by a high-speed impact, suggesting the plane didn't make a controlled ditching.
But even the debris is controversial. Some experts argue that the damage to the flaperon suggests it was in a deployed position, which would only happen if someone was manually flying the plane during the crash. If that's true, it means the pilot was active until the very end. But if he was active, why fly into the middle of nowhere? The psychological profile of Captain Zahari doesn't fit the typical mold of a mass murderer. He was a beloved family man, a pillar of his community, and a man who loved flying. His colleagues described him as a professional who would have done anything to save his passengers.
Then there is the theory of a remote hijacking. Some have suggested that the plane's sophisticated computer systems could have been hacked from the ground, allowing someone to take control of the aircraft and fly it to a secret location. While this sounds like the plot of a Hollywood movie, aviation experts admit that it is technically possible. But again, where is the plane? If it was stolen, why hasn't it been seen since? And why would someone go to such incredible lengths to steal a commercial airliner and its passengers? The mystery only deepens as we realize how much we still don't know.
The search for MH370 was the most expensive and extensive in history. Underwater drones scoured the sea floor, mapping thousands of square miles of previously unexplored terrain. They found ancient shipwrecks and bizarre geological formations, but no Boeing 777. The search was eventually called off, leaving the families of the victims in a state of perpetual grief. For them, there is no closure, only questions. Every year, on the anniversary of the disappearance, they gather to remember their loved ones and to demand that the search be resumed. They believe that someone, somewhere, knows the truth.
Is it possible that the plane is not in the Indian Ocean at all? Some independent researchers have pointed to strange radar signatures and satellite images that suggest the plane might have turned north instead of south.
Others believe it might have been shot down by a foreign military that mistook it for a threat, with the subsequent search being a massive cover-up. While these theories are often dismissed as conspiracy theories, the lack of hard evidence makes it difficult to rule anything out. In the world of MH370, nothing is too far-fetched.
What if the secret isn't in the satellite data or the ocean currents, but in the cargo? The plane was carrying a large shipment of lithium-ion batteries and mangosteens. Some have speculated that the batteries could have caught fire, creating a toxic smoke that incapacitated everyone on board.
But if there was a fire, why didn't the crew use their oxygen masks and land at the nearest airport? And why did the plane continue to fly for hours after the fire would have consumed it? The pieces of the puzzle just don't fit together.
As we move into the future, new technology might finally give us the answers we seek. Improvements in satellite tracking, underwater mapping, and data analysis could lead us to the final resting place of MH370.
There is even talk of using a new method called WSPR, Weak Signal Propagation Reporter, to track the plane's movements through the atmosphere. This technology uses a global network of low-power radio signals to detect aircraft, and some researchers believe it has already pinpointed the crash site. But until we find the black boxes, we can never be 100% sure what happened in that cockpit. The story of MH370 is a sobering reminder of how small we are in the face of the vastness of our planet.
We like to think that we have conquered the skies, that we can track every movement and predict every outcome. But MH370 showed us that even in the 21st century, a massive object can simply vanish, leaving us with nothing but questions and shadows.
The ocean keeps its secrets well, and perhaps it is better that way. Perhaps some mysteries are not meant to be solved, but to remind us of the wonder and the danger of the world we live in.
But for the families, the mystery is not a philosophical question. It is a daily reality of loss. They deserve to know the truth, no matter how painful it might be. They deserve to bring their loved ones home. And so the investigation continues, driven by a combination of scientific curiosity, professional duty, and a deep human need for justice. The search for MH370 is more than just a hunt for a plane. It is a hunt for the truth, in a world where the truth is often hidden behind layers of bureaucracy, politics, and the deep blue sea.
As we look out over the Indian Ocean today, we see a beautiful, serene landscape. But beneath those waves lies a tragedy that has haunted the world for over a decade. The plane is still down there, somewhere in the darkness, waiting to be found.
And until that day comes, the ghost of MH370 will continue to fly through our collective imagination, a silent witness to a mystery that has no end. The mystery code remains unbroken. The cliffhangers remain unresolved, and the ocean remains as silent as ever.
But let's think about the possibility of a different ending. What if the plane didn't crash? What if it landed on a remote island, hidden from the world's eyes? What if the passengers are still out there, living a life we can only imagine?
It sounds like a dream, a desperate hope against all odds. But in a case where everything we know is a mystery, why shouldn't we hope for the impossible? The story of MH370 is not just a story of a disappearance. It is a story of our obsession with the unknown, our fear of the dark, and our eternal hope that one day the lost will be found.
The investigation into MH370 is a journey into the heart of the unknown. It is a story that has captivated millions, sparked countless debates, and changed the way we think about aviation safety. It is a mystery that has everything: intrigue, tragedy, technology, and a deep sense of wonder. And as long as the plane remains missing, the investigation will never truly be over. We will keep looking, keep questioning, and keep wondering what really happened on that dark night in March 2014. Because in the end, the only thing more powerful than the mystery itself is our need to solve it.
The lights of the cities below fade as the plane moves further into the night. The stars above shine brightly, oblivious to the drama unfolding in the cockpit. Somewhere in the silence, a decision is made. A turn is taken. A life is lost.
And a mystery is born. MH370 is no longer just a flight number. It is a symbol of everything we don't know about our world. And as we continue to search the depths of the ocean and the reaches of the sky, we might find more than just a plane. We might find ourselves and the limits of our understanding. The silence of the Indian Ocean is deafening. The waves roll on, indifferent to the secrets they hold. But we are not indifferent. We are the seekers, the investigators, the dreamers.
And we will not stop until the final mystery code is cracked, until the last cliffhanger is resolved, and until the truth about MH370 is finally brought to light. Until then, we watch the horizon, waiting for a sign, a signal, a piece of the puzzle that will finally make sense of it all. The investigation continues, the mystery lives on, and the world waits. The cockpit of a Boeing 777 is a masterpiece of engineering. Hundreds of screens, buttons, and switches, all designed to keep the plane in the air and the passengers safe.
But all that technology is only as good as the person who operates it. In the case of MH370, the technology was turned against itself. The transponder was silenced, the ACARS was muted, and the plane was directed into the abyss.
It was a calculated, deliberate act of disappearance. But by whom and why? These are the questions that keep investigators up at night, and they are the questions that will continue to haunt us for years to come.
Imagine the last moments on board, the confusion as the plane turned away from its destination, the realization that something was terribly wrong, the silence as the oxygen ran low. It is a terrifying thought, one that we hope we never have to experience. But for the 239 people on MH370, it was a reality. Their story is one of the most tragic in aviation history, and it is a story that we must never forget. We owe it to them to find the truth, to learn from the mistakes of the past, and to ensure that a tragedy like this never happens again. The search for answers has taken us from the crowded streets of Kuala Lumpur to the remote islands of the Indian Ocean. It has led us to the cutting edge of science and the depths of human despair. But despite all our efforts, the truth remains as elusive as ever. The mystery of MH370 is a puzzle with missing pieces, a story with a missing ending.
And as we close this chapter of the investigation, we are left with a sense of unfinished business. The plane is still out there, the secrets are still buried, and the mystery continues to call to us from the deep.
Could there be a mystery code we've missed in the passenger manifest? A hidden passenger with a secret mission? A cargo item that wasn't what it seemed? The possibilities are endless, and the investigation will continue to explore every lead, no matter how small.
Because in a case like this, the smallest detail could be the key to unlocking the whole mystery. We must be patient, we must be persistent, and we must never lose hope. The truth is out there, somewhere, and one day we will find it. As the sun sets on another day of the investigation, we are reminded of the beauty and the mystery of our world. The sky is a canvas of colors, the ocean a mirror of the stars.
And somewhere in that vast expanse, the answers we seek are waiting. We will find them. We will bring MH370 home, and we will finally be able to say, "Good night, Malaysian 370," and mean it. Until that day, the search goes on, the mystery remains, and the world continues to wonder. The mystery of MH370 is not just about a plane. It's about the limits of our control and the enduring power of the unknown. It's a story that reminds us that even in our highly connected, technologically advanced world, there are still places where we cannot go and things we cannot see. The ocean is the last great frontier on Earth, a place of infinite depth and eternal silence.
And in that silence, MH370 has found a resting place that may never be disturbed. But the human spirit is restless, and our desire for answers is unquenchable. We will keep looking into the dark, keep listening for a whisper, and keep hoping for a miracle. Because that is who we are. We are the investigators of the unknown, the solvers of mysteries, and the keepers of the truth. And the investigation into MH370 is our greatest challenge yet.